Hey guys, it's Ian, the podcast MD here, and today I want to talk about bandwidth. And if you've ever conducted an interview over Skype and you've dealt with issues of either your video or your guest video starting and stopping or going in and out of sync, then you've dealt with bandwidth issues. And I find bandwidth errors to be the number one problem when conducting a great interview because of the level of frustration that it can produce. And although there's no one surefire way to get rid of bandwidth errors completely, and you can take all the precautions you think are necessary, bandwidth errors can still occur. Knowing what is affecting your bandwidth and how bandwidth works can help you take those precautions and have them not be a major issue so that you can focus on simply conducting a great interview. So let's take a look at how bandwidth works. I want you to think about bandwidth in the same way you think about cars traveling along a highway. In this case, they travel in two directions, which for our purposes here we'll call upload and download. Ideally, the roadway is traffic-free and bits of information are allowed to travel from point A to B without any restrictions. However, there are some rules of the road that needs to be observed that are going to affect how that information travels. The first is the speed limit set by your internet service provider. This can have a major impact on your ability to effectively conduct a Skype interview. Dial-up and slow speeds can be a major barrier for your internet working the way you want it to function. So make sure that you choose a package from your internet service provider that has the baseline speeds that you'll need to get the job done. Internet service providers very often prioritize download speed, almost like having wider lanes for more traffic to pass, since most internet usage involves downloading information onto your computer. However, a program like Skype needs to be able to send large swaths of information up to your neighbor's computer, and so this can be very upload heavy. For this reason, having a baseline upload speed of about 2 or 2.5 will be necessary as part of your internet package. More about that later. Now, another factor that will affect your bandwidth is the demands that you put on it, kind of like putting more cars on the roadway. So if you're conducting an audio-only interview, this is less demanding than suddenly including video. Now, if your roadway isn't wide enough, this is going to lead to too many cars on the roadway, with too narrow a road, and eventually a traffic jam, preventing bits of information from getting to their intended place on time or spilling off the road altogether. It might be a crude illustration, but this is essentially what's happening when you experience bandwidth issues. Too much traffic on too narrow a road means not enough information getting where it needs to go. Finally, the last factor that's going to affect your bandwidth is your hardware. Now, a lot of people go, I don't understand why this is happening. This is a brand new computer. Well, your computer is only one link in the chain. And if you're using a computer that isn't capable of running Skype, you're using a very old and obsolete computer. And chances are that's not really happening. So the weak link in the chain has to be somewhere else. Would that it were so simple, right? Well, it's not. I've seen people with brand new computers being unable to run their interview because of their brand new computer. Now, because they had a brand new computer, their webcam was actually more sophisticated, therefore demanding more bandwidth. So it ended up happening that because of their new sophisticated computer, they couldn't run the interview, and when they went back and used their old computer, they didn't run into the same frustrations. It didn't look as good because the quality of the webcam wasn't as good, but that older computer was more able to run on their internet kind of system, whereas the new one made too much demands on it. Make any sense? You kind of need to have everything together. I hope that helps. Now, very often you can rent your modem from your internet service provider, and they're obliged to provide you with one that can handle the speeds that they're offering you through their packages. So chances are it's not your modem that's the problem, unless you bought a modem yourself several years ago and you're still using it. What I see as the biggest problem in the hardware setup is the router. Now, wireless has been around for a long time, but it's evolved incredibly. And what I find happens is people have a very old router that is no longer capable of handling the speeds that the rest of their setup is capable of handling. So it's very important that you check and make sure that all the parts of your system are capable of handling the speeds offered by your internet service provider. The key one in this chain being your router. Make sure you check it. You're going to hate me, I know. Once again, things get a little bit nuanced. So once upon a time when you were buying your router, it was kind of like designed to handle just one device at a time. You were basically able to plug your computer with an Ethernet cable into it, or you could have like one laptop going. Nowadays, we have like 8 devices in our house, all using the same router, and sometimes we don't even know it. There's like our smart TV, there's like little Timmy's cell phone, there's our tablet, plus, we got 3 computers in the house now. So if you don't have a router that can handle like 5-6 devices at a time, you're in a lot of trouble. Just not going to work. You need to get a router that can not only handle the speeds, but many devices at one time. It's the way it is. Sorry. So the last thing you're going to want to be able to do is run a speed test. And the way you do that is you go to a simple website called speedtest.net, which you should be able to see on the screen right now. And then all you got to do is press begin test. And then just let it do its thing. This is how you're going to be able to know whether or not you're making the most out of your internet service provider's speeds. Now, the service that I pay for offers me a speed of 35 down and 5 up. And let's see how close I get. So there are 3 important numbers here: my ping, my download speed, and my upload speed. As I mentioned before, what I'm offered by my service provider is 35 down, 5 up. Now, the third number here is ping. This is the amount of time it took for my signal to get to where it had to go to test those speeds. You want it less than 100. 1 is ridiculously low. So my download speed is right on target at 35. And my upload speed that I'm getting is actually better than what my service provider is offering. But like I said, that upload speed, that is the key number. If that is below 2, you should expect to run into difficulties. Now remember that your connection is a partnership with your neighbor's connection as well. So they're going to affect your bandwidth. So it's advisable that you instruct them to run a speed test as well. Because if you come up with good numbers, solid numbers, but they come up with lower numbers that are in the range that might affect performance, you know who to blame. And you can ask them to, if they're planning to conduct a Skype interview, upgrade their service. Anyway, I hope you found this tutorial useful, and we'll see you next time.